freedom and justice, equality, and opportunity for all.
Wonderful sentiments indeed. Psychotherapist and HLN contributor Dr. Tiffany Davis Henry with us. Also, political science professor, HLN contributor Jason Johnson, both here with us. Now, Jason, you were our eyes and ears on the ground all day in the National Mall. What stood out to you more than anything today?
I saw so many people here who had been original marchers 50 years ago, and the passion that they showed was amazing. And I took a little time, I did a little research, and I watched some of the speeches from the 25th anniversary march in 1988. And even to see the changes in this country, the increased optimism in 2013 over what was there in 1988 or 1965 was absolutely amazing. So the age and the sacrifice and the joy today, that was probably the most resonant part.
Okay. You know, Tiffany, when I look at this, I wonder, how far have we actually come in 50 years? What do you think about the progress since Dr. King's speech?
I feel like we've made a lot of progress, but there's still yet to be done. I think Dr. King would be proud of what we've done, but he wouldn't be satisfied. Certainly, we talk about race a lot in this country, and in recent weeks, we've seen a lot in the news where race has been a hot-button issue. But Dr. King talked about equality, about justice, about the liberty and freedoms that he wanted us all to achieve. And I think we still have a lot of work to do in that area, whether it's social justices, socioeconomic disenfranchisement, educational opportunities for people of all races, creeds, sexuality equality and gender equality and all of that kind of stuff. I think that we still have a lot of work to do.
Okay. Yeah. You know, Jason, you mentioned 1988. I remember marching in that area with my dad. I was a young kid back then, and just getting the sense of so many people around coming together. When we look at today and we look at what all the presidents spoke about, and by the way, the Bushes would have been there if not for medical concerns, but where do we want this to be in 50 years from now?
Well, in 50 years, we want a lot of the problems that we're talking about today to not exist. I mean, the reality is that America still has a serious problem with race. There is still discrimination in schools. There is still discrimination in hiring. There is still discrimination in medical care and medical access. These problems have not been fixed. Racism is the leaky roof. You can't just plug in one thing and hope that everything else is fixed. So the hope is that in 50 years, we won't be talking about the same issues. We'll be talking about maybe just people with disabilities, or maybe just people who are gay or something else like that. We hope that we are in a further place. Unfortunately, I don't know that any of us will live to see that magic time where racism doesn't exist, but I think we'll be better off in 50 years.
Dr. Tiff, what do you think?
Well, I think in some ways he's right. Certainly, we didn't think we were going to see an African-American president in this lifetime. So that's one thing. You know, when Dr. King spoke, it was a dream. It really, really was a dream for many of us. No one ever thought that we would actually see that. We could dream it, but we didn't know that we would see it. The only way to realize this dream is to, once we get to the mountaintop, actually helping other people to get to the mountaintop with us. It's not enough for one person to be there. We all have to be there to realize the dream and to savor that justice that Dr. King spoke so eloquently about.
And Jason, I was amazed at all of the speakers' efforts today in that it wasn't about them, it was more about Dr. King and his legacy.
Yeah, that was amazing. There was a lot more pageantry today than there was on Saturday. I mean, you had celebrities, you had Leanne Rimes, Heather Headley, but everyone stayed focused on Martin Luther King. And what I did like, it's very rare that you see two former presidents and the current president speak, and they spoke about institutional change. Martin Luther King's dream was not just about people being nice to each other. It was about changing the structure of our government and our business so that everyone has an opportunity to succeed. And I like the fact that that was a focus on several of the speeches today, especially from our former and current president.
Yeah, the focus back in '63 as well as today. Jobs, freedom, equality. Not just let's get along, but how do we help all each other?
It's not over.
It's not over. It will, you know, it's going to take a long time, but hopefully change will continue to come. Jason, Tiff, thank you so much. And you know what, Lynn, from my perspective, when I look at this today, I thought it was amazing that the presidents really focused on Dr. King's message. Now, what's the next step? Because I always like to think about solutions. we see what happened in recent verdicts. I know I saw so many people get upset over what happened in the George Zimmerman case. It's about change. It's about people getting off the sidelines and getting into the game. Today was a great first step, the March on Washington. How can we further change our environment? But you know what the next step is? Voting all the time, trying to change your laws if you don't like the way something goes, realizing that this is part of your country. And as part of your country, you get to affect change, but that requires you to get off the couch and get on the streets and say something and talk to your politicians and make change happen. And I think we're seeing the beginning of that today and with other events these days.
Yeah, Ryan, and there's such a different world now to have.